It's Wolf, and I just wanted to make a quick short video to show you guys remote play on PS4. I know that this is already a pretty well explored and well known topic, but I meant to make this video forever ago as sort of a precursor to a longer video about remote play that I wanted to make, which I still would like to make a longer video about remote play because remote play is really interesting, especially when you consider it in comparison to all these newer game streaming services. But anyway, I'll talk about that in a second. So this footage is a couple months old, and I just want to note that because one of the things that I show in this video is gameplay of the new Marvel Avengers video game, but this footage was actually recorded before the game came out, so the footage is of the beta of the game, which is one of the things that I wanted to pinpoint. So just remote play is kind of amazing because you can play any PlayStation 4 game pretty much on your PS Vita, and I think you can also, there's remote play apps for like the computer and phones, I believe, also. And it's just amazing because you can play pretty much any PlayStation game that is playable on a PS4 on a mobile device through streaming. And the nice thing about that is that compared to other streaming services like Stadia and stuff like that, you don't actually have to like pay for a membership or whatever to use it, or like pay for a game that you don't actually own. Because if you own a PlayStation and you own the game, you can play it on your PlayStation normally, but then you also have this option to stream it to a device, and it's kind of like owning your own little server for it really, but it's your PlayStation. So I used the Marvel Avengers game beta in this footage just to kind of show off that it does work with pretty much anything I've ever tried to play on it. So this game was not even fully released when I recorded this, and it still worked through remote play. I don't remember exactly. I don't know if like it's just that Sony designed remote play to be really workable, or if the developers actually have to put in extra work to make it workable or whatever, but it does tend to work. On PS Vita, you can run into some issues because there's not an R2 and L2 button on PS Vita, and so games that require shooting guns, usually that's mapped to L2 and R2, and like driving games, usually that's mapped to L2 and R2, but that can actually be fixed pretty quickly by using the PlayStation 4's accessibility feature to just remap the controls so that way they work with R1, L1 on the PS Vita. And you can still use L2 and R2 on the PS Vita, but it's the back touchpad, so that just feels a little bit awkward to use because you gotta kind of contort your hands to use those as like consistent buttons. And then I also showed off some gameplay of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare Zombies just to show some actual gameplay, because in the Avengers gameplay I didn't really play any actual missions because little did I know when I had played it earlier that day I got to a point which was like a bunch of talking when I went to record this video, so I wanted to show some actual like gameplay, and I had Infinite Warfare downloaded, so went ahead and just hopped into a zombies match. I didn't do well in it because in order to record the PS Vita screen well, I actually recorded that in my closet with the lights off, so that way it was dark and like the screen was viewable easily, so that did not make it easy. It was also like 90 degrees in my room or something, I swear. It was super warm day, and my closet was even warmer. So anyway, yeah, I just wanted to make a video about it. I know this is kind of a disorganized video, but simply put, remote play is just a really cool thing that PlayStation has done, and this footage was just kind of sitting in like my folder of videos that I still needed to make, and I just wanted to just make the video already. Overall, just remote play is really cool as just a service or whatever you want to consider it, because alongside all the PS4 stuff that I've talked about, or well, not really even talked about, just kind of like shown in this video, PlayStation was experimenting with this like way before a lot of these other companies started messing with game streaming. I mean, for one, you had all this stuff with PS Now that kind of happened before already, but that wasn't really such a big deal, and that was more closer to like traditional game streaming. But remote play can actually be done with a PlayStation 3, which is super interesting, and it doesn't actually work that well, and this is a thing that if I do make a longer remote play video in the future, I'm definitely going to cover, but you can actually do remote play from a PS3 to a PSP or a PS Vita, and it's interesting because you can tell that they were trying to experiment with it, but that it didn't work as, I think, well as they wanted to, because you could not really play any games that way. You could pretty much only explore the PlayStation's menu or use like the PS3's browser. I think the one game that I ever got to work that way was Pixel Junk Shooter. I think think there's a list of all the games that work remote play from PS3 to a PSP, but it's not very long. The interesting thing to note about that though is when the PS Vita first came out, there was people who like hacked it to be able to play PS3 games, like more PS3 games. So there's videos out there of people playing like Infamous 2 and other bigger name games on PS Vitas from however long ago, which is pretty cool, and also makes you wonder why PlayStation didn't do that. I guess like maybe it was glitchy, so maybe they didn't want to like officially release it like that or whatever. But anyway, yeah, so I just wanted to do a video to kind of talk about remote play. I'll see you guys in other videos, and bye-bye.